Órale. The barrio love all these that kind.
What's up, everybody? It is I, of course, your girl, Miss Crystal Marie from Barrio Love Oldies, right here on the Barrio Love Oldies podcast, episode number 16, with none other than Miss Lady of Soul. Welcome to our podcast. I'm super excited to have you with us. How are you?
I'm good, Mija. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor, to be on your podcast, and let's get to it.
Yes, let's get to it. All right, so let's start off with where are you from? Where were you born? Where were you raised?
I was born in Monterey Park, California, and I was raised in South El Monte.
South El Monte. And were you did you go to school there also, or?
You know what? It was, I went to school there, I want to say in, what was it, junior high?
Okay.
But I went to, middle, from being, little, kindergarten and, elementary. I went to school, all over the place in La Puente because it was, that's where my mom, worked at the time. So it was closer for her, for me to be close with her, with school and work. And then I went to junior high over there in South El Monte. And then high school, I went there for a bit. And then being a traviesa, I got kicked out of there. And then, who hasn't? No, just saying. Just getting into shit that I shouldn't have got into, but.
Well, what were you like as a teenager?
Oh my gosh, I was wild.
Yeah, you were a wild child?
I was a wild child, but at the same time, I just, I was more independent, like I said, my mom, she worked. She was a hardworking lady, and I had to take the bus because, we didn't own a car, so our transportation was the bus. So I would take the bus, and I know all the areas to where bus goes to where, and I was always telling them, hey, you want to go here? We have bus tokens. So we would, just go different places, the malls, and hang out and things like that, or I don't know, what was it, those ditching parties?
Yeah. Did you have any siblings?
I do have a brother. Unfortunately, I wasn't, we weren't raised under the same home together. He did have a disability. He needed a lot of special attention and care. So, my mom had to make the hard decision, giving him up for an adoption. And, she, it was hard at the time, her being a single parent and, having, being pregnant with me and having my brother, and he needed a lot of care. And, and my mom, she had to make a decision and, give him the best care and attention and stuff like that. And we would always go see him, on the weekends. And I didn't quite understand it, from being a little, a kid. And I was like, I was so messed up. We would, his foster mom, they would give us a ride home. And she was like, I'm going to give you guys a ride. I want you guys taking the bus, and I would sit in the back. She had a station wagon, and we would sit in the back, and I would feel really hurt, because I get to go home. Oh, sorry. Okay. I get to go home with my mom, but my brother couldn't, and that tore me up it still does to this day, and I just always felt bad, here I am, I get to go home with my mom, or our mom, and he couldn't, and it was like that for 14 years, it took my mom to finally sign her rights completely over, because she wanted to make sure, that the parents, they were good to him, and they were, they had another little boy with them, and they waited, they waited until my mom was comfortable, and they accepted me. They were a very loving family. And, and, when he was 14 and I was 13, and that was the last, I didn't get to see him, but he was at school, and my mom, she signed the papers, and, but I'll always hold, my memories with him, and I'll still say to this day, no matter what, that they changed his last name, he's still my brother to this day. We got the same blood. We got the same mom, same dad. So in my eyes, he's my brother. He might not live with me, or I may not see him, but I just pray that, that he's still taken care of, and, he's well off,
Sure. Yeah, of course. And that is so true. Like, you guys are always going to be connected. You guys are one blood, and that's something that, no last name can take. You know what I mean? Nothing can take that away from you guys. So you guys are always going to be connected. And, your mom, how you said, she was a single mom, doing things on her own. She was busy, and she did what she felt was right for her at the time. And we may not always agree with it. We may not always understand why, people choose, certain things. But, she had her reason. You know what I mean? And your brother, I'm sure how you said, he's in a loving home. And, and that's a good thing. That's the purest form of love that she could have showed him, is to give him a better opportunity. So that's, in a way, that's awesome, Did that ever impact your relationship with your mom? Like,
yeah, it did, because I would give her, a hard time. But it was now, at the moment, you're a kid, you don't understand. But now that I'm older and, I have my kids, and, I have a son, one of my sons, he's autistic, and I understand, it's not the same thing, but I went through a lot of things with my son, at a very young age, him and going to doctor's appointments, and them telling me things, and going to all these therapists and stuff like that, and, and how, well, I mean, I have my other daughter, and, and your friends are around, and they're like, oh, my son is doing this, or my son's doing that, and why isn't your son doing this, And it would always, it would hit me. And I would always call my mom, like, Mom, why are they telling me this? Why? And she would tell me, Mija, don't listen to what they have to say. Don't believe in nothing. Your son's gonna make it. Your son is gonna be able to do things like he's never done. You gotta believe. You gotta have faith. And I didn't understand it at that moment. And she would always tell me, Mija, don't you ever give up on your son. He's yours. And you could do it. I couldn't do it because of other reasons. But with your son, you can do it, and never give up on him. Don't ever give up at all, because he's going to be able to walk. He's going to be able to talk. And my son had to wear braces on his legs. He had a helmet. He had, weak muscle. I would sit him up, and he would just tilt to the side. He had no, upper strength. I had to blend all his food when he was little. I went through a lot with my son, a lot. And that's always stood on the back of my head. No matter how tiring, no matter, just keep it pushing. Keep going to all his doctor's appointments. And my mom told me, she's like, you're very lucky and fortunate that you get to do this with your son. I couldn't, and that gave me the strength, to keep pushing, keep fighting, And now my son, he's 16, and he's nonstop talking, he's talking, he's walking. Awesome. He doesn't, he has no braces, no on his legs, anything, But it just, she gave me like, like that,
That motivation,
that,
that push.
yeah, because I would always call her, Mom, they said this, or Mom, what am I gonna do and why, and she would always, always like, it's okay, man, it's alright, it's not, she's like, there's other babies out there in more difficult things, and their moms are still there. And I would see it like that too, because when I would take them to Children's Hospital in downtown LA, and I would see babies with feeding tubes and, all this stuff, all this equipment. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, why am I making a big deal about this? I should be grateful and thankful that I have my son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I should look at it, like, so what if he has a helmet? So what if he has braces? You know what I mean? It's not like, those things can overcome. And I did, and I went out and reached out for help, and I'm thankful for all the programs that was offered to us. And I didn't give up on my son. Never did. And I'm still, I'm still here with my son till the wheels fall off.
That's awesome. Well, I think you use maybe that experience as fuel, right? To continue fighting and continuing to be an advocate for your son, and utilizing all the programs that are out there. Like sometimes we're scared or embarrassed, right? And I always say that, like, you shouldn't be embarrassed to utilize the programs that are out there, because sometimes, like, the only ones that suffer are our kids, right? Like, because we're shy or we're embarrassed. Like, no, go out there. Like, there's programs out there, like, for that reason, so your child could better themselves.
Yeah, that's the way I started to look at it. Like, so what if people are staring and we're in the market and he's having a meltdown? Or, he'll be, we'll be eating at restaurants and he'll be acting out. And for a long time, we wouldn't go anywhere. It was like, where do we go? And I had to, like, so what? Like, he's just like everybody else, but just in a different way. And it's okay. It's all right, I shouldn't, because I had my other kids, and it wasn't fair to them either, to say, okay, we're all staying home. We're not going to go to birthday parties or whatever, But, I started little by little, just taking them out places. And, eventually we ended up, staying somewhere the whole day. And I was like, okay, that's improvement, But,
sure.
But yeah, I mean, I just, like I said, I just stood it out with all the programs that were offered him, because at the end of the day, it's for his benefit, not for mine, And I have to look at the long run for him,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome that, you use those resources to help you, So I want to kind of backtrack a little bit with your mom, growing up with your mom and her, always, what kind of, what kind of music did your mom listen to, like, growing up, and, like, what was that scene like in your home?
Okay, so my mom, she was a homegirl. She, played her 8-tracks, her 45, her LPs. My mom was a big oldie collector. She loved oldies. That was her thing. And then my uncles, one was a DJ, and then my Nino, he was in a band. So he would play, like, with the Royal Chessmen. He would play with the Midnighters. And, and back in the day, in El Monte, there was the American Legion. And, of course, Monteveo, there was the Montebello Ball. So there was all those little things, bands would go, and, artists would go. So they were always around music. And my house was always music,
Yeah.
But mainly my mom, and I remember also too, being a young little girl, my mom would take me to record shops, you know. And I'll be she'll be like, okay, stay right here, you know, sit down on the stroller, don't move.
Don't
and I'll be
touch nothing.
sitting there, yeah, don't touch nothing, you know. And she'll be like, come on, like we gotta go because there's this record coming out, you know, and I gotta get this record, you know. And I remember that, and those things like that, I hold close to my heart, you know. And so I've always been around music.
Oldies and oldies.
Oldies. Yeah, oldies. Yeah, it was oldies. You know, and then like my other, you know, aunts and uncles, they were playing, you know, all different genres, you know. Some were playing like the 80s, you know, things like that. So, but my thing is, it's always been the oldies. You know, doo-wop.
What do you think attracted you, or to gravitate more to oldies than any other type of genre, besides, of course, growing up, hearing it in your home? For you yourself, right? Sometimes naturally we just like music because it's nostalgic, right? It reminds us of growing up. But like for you, what got you like personally into oldies? Is it the nostalgic feeling of growing up, or is it more or something different?
You know what? It's always been there since I was a little girl. I've always been drawn to the oldies. You know, is it the sound? Is it like the lyrics? The sound. I like the sound of it. And to me, I feel like it's there's story behind, you know, the songs. If you listen to it, it's a story. You know, you gotta pay attention to it. You know, that was my thing that caught me. You know, being at a young age, you know, of that. And it's just mind blowing. Like honestly, now, you know, from growing up to it, and now, you know, me being, you know, older, and it's like, wow, like this is, you know, because I was growing up, it was like the common, you know, common oldies and stuff like that. But as I got older, you know, I just like, there's just so much music out there. There's so many genres. I mean, there's so many. It's just mind blowing, you know.
Yeah, because you're into the rare soul, right? Like that's you love the rare soul, right?
Yeah, you know what's funny is that people.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
You know, people feel like, you know, like, oh, Marie, you know, you like sweet soul, and I go, yeah, that's my thing. But you know, when at times when I go out and spin and stuff, and I play, you know, different other genres, it's like, whoa, like they're like, what? What's this? You know, and I'll be like, oh, it's reggae soul, or you know, it's just beat soul, or you know what I mean, or this is a up tempo, and you know, it's like oddball or obscure, modern soul. You know what I mean? There's different genres. You know, and a lot of people, to me, I want to say, you know, I started to have more of an ear and more of appreciation of the music, you know, as I got older, you know, and started to really like, wow, like this is mind blowing, you know, and then
it's different, huh? Very different.
Yeah. And a lot
do you
of
remember
artists.
Go ahead. No. Hold on. Before you answer that, before you go into that, my question to you is, do you remember because, I don't know, for me, like, I grew up listening to, like, rare soul, but more common oldies, right? But then I remember the first time I experienced rare soul, and that blew my mind. Like, after that, like, I was like, I will never listen to it. Like, I didn't want to listen to anything else. Like, it hooked me. Do you remember your first experience when you heard, like, your first rare song? Or something different than our common oldies?
Yeah. And
Tell me about
it. Okay, well, that experience, what I would want to say, you know, it was to my late husband, Bobby. He was also a record collector, and also, he was a dealer. He would sell records, and he would put out CD comps. He also produced his own, 45 record.
Wow.
We would have all these collectors coming to our house, mainly dealers, because at the time, there wasn't no record shops because, fortunately the shops closed, in the early, late 70s or 80s, I want to say. Things started to converting, to cassettes, and then later on came out the CDs. So, we would have record collectors come into the house. And, I would always, try to keep the kids quiet.
Yeah.
And I would see them with the little, the portable record players, and they would be negotiating and like, hey, check this song out. What you think about this? Or, and I would be like, hey, that's nice. I never heard that. Who's that? And that right there was my love for the sweet soul. It caught my eye. Like, wow, I never heard this. And that's when I started to understand, like, wow, this is some deep stuff. Because, everybody that collects, everybody has a different taste. When somebody says, oh yeah, I like sweet, so I like oldies. Say, what kind of oldies?
Yeah, exactly.
You got your Motown, you got your sweet soul, you got your 70s, 60s, 50s, you know what I mean? Like, it goes on and on. So, but everybody had their own estilo,
Yeah, for sure.
And I would see them, coming in, and they would, gather up their records and buying records, and, or they would also do like phone auctions. So there was no eBay. There was none of that. So it was to get your records, you had to know somebody to get records. You know what I mean? Or people, they would be calling people like in Japan or the UK, and I'm like, man, you guys are crazy. Like, what you guys are doing? And I didn't understand. I didn't understand that because I was like, what's all this? How do these people know about this? And they were like, you don't even know. Yeah. So I was more like
hobby for sure.
Yeah. So I would see all of that. That was my thing, seeing all the, the backstory of these guys collecting and the rare stuff. And, I at that time, that was, Bobby's thing, and,
so
and
actually,
I had to,
actually, it's your husband's, we're talking about this before the interview, it's your husband's 30th anniversary today. Do you want to, I know we were kind of talking a little bit, he unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and you were actually at the beach today celebrating his memory. You want to tell us how your day has been and tell me about your husband?
Yeah, so, fortunately, Bobby, my husband, passed away 3 years, it's been today 3 years, sadly, due to COVID. And, I'm just here, with our kids, just enjoying the day, other than being peaceful, at the beach. So yeah, I'm just, just enjoying.
Yeah, for sure. Did he like the beach?
Yes, he did. Yes, that was his thing, He loved the beach.
Well, you know what a beautiful thing to coincidentally, right? This interview happened on his 30th anniversary, and I think it's a beautiful way to honor him, to be able to speak to him, to be able to speak of him and his life and everything that he also contributed to the rare soul scene and the soul scene. because I know he was very big. You were telling me he's done compilations, so much stuff. And you want to talk about those?
Yeah. He's Bobby was really big into the soul scene. He collaborated, did a lot of compilations of CDs, over the years, and he was also, a part of Gangsta Soul Harmony, with George Miller. So shout out to George Miller. And on the side, he also did his own. He's done, gosh, I think I already lost count, how many CDs this man did. And he was very true to his music. That was his everything. I mean, like I said, he would be up at odd hours, sitting on records, calling different, collectors across the world. He has so much love and passion for his music. And, he handed the baton to me, and now I'm running with it, I'm always going to live on his legacy, and that's, that's what I'm going to continue to do in his honor.
Yeah. And I feel like their memory and their voice still echoes through our music, right? When we put those records on there, that's still him. It's echoing his life through that music. And that's what I always say, because my father passed away 2 years ago. And I always say, no, it's okay. I always say that I'm going to keep his memory alive, and that everything that, that's why I created his platform, right? So that, awesome. His memory can echo, through my voice, of course, and through the music that I play that bonds us. And I'm sure music bonds you and your husband, right? That's what bonded you guys together. And, how you said now, he passed the baton to you. How did you feel when, knowing, okay, now I'm going to continue this legacy, and, to fill such big shoes, right? How was that experience like?
Oh my God, Mija, I was like, all kinds of emotions were at that moment, where, like, now what, being with him, 27 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, because he would always be the one, doing the music, the CDs, the records, and, all this stuff he would do. And it's like, unfortunately, right before he passed, he did do his first 45. He wanted to press his 45, and he got to, do the part, of creating it, doing the recording and submitting it and all of that. But unfortunately, he didn't get to see the aftermath, and that right there was like, oh my God, like, I'm going to have to, ship everybody's record down. I was like, I don't know his password. I'm like, how am I going to do this? It was just like a lot, and, and unfortunately, the good thing is that I completed it. I did everything that, I try to remember, like, everything that the way he wanted it to be. And I fulfilled that for him, and I did it, respectfully and everything. I said, okay, this is the way he wants it. I'm going to finish it. And I did, I gathered everything, everybody's information, and I was like telling everybody, like, be patient with me, because I don't know, you guys worked, you guys negotiated. I did, and I'm just, I'm just stepping in and doing this,
Yeah.
And, and at the same time, he would sell records to people, and people were like, hey, I haven't got my records. And I'm like, oh, shoot, like, let me backtrack, let me go into his phone and, let me see what you got, and I'll package it up, and just bear with me, like, we're going through a tough time, just be respectful about it, but you'll get your stuff, And then at the time, just my kids going through, just losing their dad and like understanding, what just happened. And it was just like so much going on,
Cause you were sick as well. So that's why I'm like, just like thinking like, first and foremost, you just lost your husband. Not only that, you're sick, and with COVID, it takes a long time for you to recover. I can't imagine like having all that pain of just losing your husband, being sick, trying to recover, being strong for your kids, and then still have to take care of business. Like, you're superwoman for sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of going on, and by the grace of God, I managed to bounce right back up. And yeah, there was a couple falls here and there, but always, I gotta get up and keep it pushing, because at the end of the day, I still have 4 children to, that need me. Yeah. And, it's just a matter of, pushing through, and just don't give up no matter how hard it gets, or you think it's, but yeah, it might be tough at the moment, but you'll be all right. You just gotta stand firm and just keep pushing.
Yeah. I think especially like, like when you lose somebody, I feel like, it's hard. How do you continue life, especially like for you that he was your partner, He was your partner. So how do you continue on after that? How do you continue life with like finding ways to manage? And I always tell everybody, like, it never gets better. Like it doesn't, for me at least, it doesn't get easier. You just learn how to cope with it. With it and just go through your day like, God, because even, I don't know if to you it happens, but like I could be okay, like randomly, and then, it could just, one thought, one song, one picture can, throw me off like it just happened that, that night before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just dealing with that every day, carrying that pain. It's hard,
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. It could be a picture, it could be a song. It's the same thing, with my mom. Same thing, it's just, and the kids are like, what's wrong, Mom? And I'm like, it's a song. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I'll be all right.
Yeah.
But, I just, when I went through that, that moment, losing him, all kinds of stuff was, like I said, was running through my head. And mind you, at the time, when he passed, before that, when he was in the hospital, you couldn't go in there, when COVID, they wouldn't let you in. And mind you, at the time, I didn't even have my vaccination. So, I was at church. Well, I was at church when I got the call, like, you gotta get here ASAP. Like, your husband's declining, like, fast.
Wow.
So, I was like, luckily I had, my compadre, and, he's a pastor, and I said, what, can you watch the kids? Cause I can't take them with me. I gotta go to the hospital. It's Bobby. They're saying he's declining. And, so I rushed over there, and I'm just like having a conversation, with God, like, like, this is it, like, if you're going to take them, because prior to that, about a week and a half, I would always call him, check on him, because they would do like that FaceTime thing. They would put the little tablet there, and I knew all the nurses. I knew everybody there. You know, I would always call and check on them because I couldn't go there in there because I wasn't, you know, vaccinated. But I would always make sure, like, you know, who was his charge nurse and what did you guys give him and blah, blah, blah. And it was like emotional roller coaster. One day he'll be good, and next day he'll be bad. And next, you know, it was like on and off, right? So now fast forward, you know, when I got that call, it was like, oh man, like this is it, you know? And like I said, I was, you know, having a conversation with God, and I was like, you know, if you're going to take them, because like this is breaking my kid's heart. You know, they're always asking if daddy's going to come home. What's going on with daddy? Why does he have all these tubes? But I did that, you know, like for them to, like for him to hear us. And I would take the kids to the park every day. And I would get on the live thing for him, and I would let him hear the kids play, you know? And I wanted to see if like he'll snap out of it, but he was like too far gone.
Yeah.
And when I got, like I said, when I got to the hospital, they didn't want to let me in because they're like, oh, you know, you're not vaccinated. And I'm like, so what? He's my husband.
Yeah.
I need to get here. Like, they called me. I need to go in there. So as we were walking down the hallway, and the nurse was like, I have to tell you something. And I was like, what? And she's like, unfortunately, your husband's no longer here. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, I could have been in there, but I was arguing with your dumb asses. Like, I could have been in here. So I was upset, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh. You know, and I was like, no, like, this can't be, you know? And I'm seeing him in behind a glass door. And I'm like, so this is how I'm going to say my goodbye?
Yeah.
That was a hard one. And I was like, you know what am I going to tell my kids? You know, there goes everything. You know, it's like flashing, like a flash. You know, like boom, like everything, you know. I met this man when I was 13 and a half, almost 14 now. I've known this man, you know what I mean? Like, we grew up. And that's the thing a lot of people don't understand, you know? We grew up, we had a history, you know, we had our kids, you know, but I thought, you know, things were going to be different, but, you know, I guess it was his time, you know?
You know, like, God has already, like, you know, he knows how long he needs us here, you know, for.
Yeah.
And we're just on borrowed time, you know what I mean? And that's one thing that I learned is that we're on borrowed time. You know, we're not all here forever. What you do with the time that you have, that's, you know, that's what matters. And, you know, I feel like, you know, Bobby was here as long as he needed to be here, as long as God needed him here. And, you know, it was his time. But, you know, he touched a lot of lives, and his life is still continuing on. You're still continuing his legacy. And even though he's not physically here, his spirit's still here through you and his children.
His children, you know? And I see that, you know. I hear it, I see it, you know, and, you know, that was a hard time for, you know, for me and my children, you know. But, you know, I just, like I said, you know, I did everything that he asked, you know. I'm very grateful and thankful that, you know, we got to talk, you know, we got to say our goodbyes. Some people don't get to do that, you know, and I asked him everything, what he wanted, how he wanted his, you know, his funeral, everything what he wanted, and, you know, I respected that. Was I mad at the time? Heck yeah, I was, because of his decision, you know. You know, because he had it, he wanted to be, what is it, that tube thing that they put, I forgot what it's called.
Incubated?
You know, that,
or the...
intubated, the intubated, he wanted to do that because he couldn't, like, at the moment he couldn't breathe, you know. But I was mad. I was like, man, why are you doing this? Like, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
But, as a wife at that time, I had to stand by his decision and respect it, because
Yeah.
he was the one fighting for his life,
Yeah.
and at the same time, we had to watch it. We had to watch it, and I had to respect his wishes,
Yeah.
and
But I think when you're in that situation, you're willing to try anything just to fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though, we don't know what what consequences there is or whatnot. But I feel like you're just so desperate to fight. You're going to try anything. And I'm sure that's hard to, how you say, hard to watch,
Yeah, especially when you see your loved ones, suffering, and it's like you can't do shit.
Yeah.
You can't. And at that time, I couldn't be there. Like by his side, me or my kids. Our kids, we couldn't be there.
I think that's the scariest part, right? Is just, I know, like I was sharing with you earlier, my husband was in that situation where he was in the hospital for 3 weeks. But I mean, how you said, I was FaceTiming every day. I was, but I think it was so scary because you can't go in and see them. You can't be there. You can't, you're really just holding on to somebody else's word, what information they're giving you about your loved one. And I think that's the scariest part. And honestly, like I said, I couldn't show, even though I was terrified, I had to be strong for our son, right? You have to, everything is fine, everything's good, he's going to be fine. And you're stressed out and worried inside. But experiencing all that and having to lose your partner, how do you feel like you were able to overcome that and manage with it? Because how we said, it doesn't get easier. We just learn how to manage it. How was that process for you to overcome?
Well, first and foremost, it's my children. They helped me go through this, and that's what, would help me. And then as well, I met somebody that, came into my life, and just started, being supportive and compassionate, and, just showing me that, life, there's still life, and he's been, an amazing person to me and my, my children, and just
being supportive and being there, and just being able to help you even process, I'm sure, those feelings that are sometimes even hard to find somebody to talk to about, right? But just having a friend there that you can be open, transparent with, and even sometimes even speak about, I'm sure you guys can, speak about, certain things that your kids go through, missing their father, and, just having that male presence, I'm sure is helpful in their life to be able to, maybe just, just not, of course, I'm sure he will never be their father, but just have that guidance, right? Even after.
That's what he says, he's very supportive with the children, and he tells them, I'm not here to take your dad's place or anything like that. I respect the man, but I'm here to help you and guide you, and and that right there, he has shown me that, and that's just, that's a really a blessing, and just over the years, I've been going through a lot, physically, mentally, spiritually, and it's just it's a nice feeling, to know that I have that support, and pushing me, like, you got this, you could do it, you're a strong woman, and that right there, it's a bitter sweet feeling,
Yeah, I'm sure. And how does he feel about you being such a big vinyl collector and spinning? Like, is he into oldies as well?
Yes, he is. He's into oldies and, funk. And, when we met, it was like, he was just like, wow, like, oh, I'm meeting Miss Lady of Soul, and he was just like, dang, like, you got a lot of music, and he's very supportive, in what I do, and that's a plus for me, and at times, like I said, when I was, when I go through my little moments, where, you know, he always, encourages me, like, no, like, like, don't ever, stop what you love to do, and I'm like, it's not that I want to stop, it's just sometimes I need a break, and I need to find me, you know what I mean? Sometimes it gets overwhelming, at times, and he always tells me, like, no, like, like, this is what you love to do. You got to keep it going. Like, this is you, and that right there, like, that's a beautiful thing, that he encourages me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is, I feel like, I'm sure, you know, sometimes God brings people in our life because, he knows what we need and, who we need in our life, and, sometimes we don't understand it. People come into our lives and we don't always understand why or how.
Yeah.
But,
you are so right.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I didn't.
Go ahead.
I didn't expect this. Like, I wasn't looking for this. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. Like, it just, what caught me was, he was just hearing me out. Like, we were, just friends, talking, hanging out, and, he wasn't looking for love. I wasn't looking for love. That's for sure at the time, because I was just going through my own issues, and he was going through his issues. But at the end, now that I think of it, like, we were both going through something, and that right there, what brought us together, because he was, like I said, he was going through his thing, I was going through my thing, and we were there to support one another and to get through that dark moment, and I there's not even enough thank yous that I could thank that man, because he was there by my side, when I was going through a lot of tragic moments, first of all, with my house, I was scared that, at one point I had cancer, and I thought it was going to be the end for me, but that wasn't God's plans, and going through all that, in that moment, here's this man that, that helped me and my kids, to get through it, and I'm just so forever, that's one of the things that I'm so forever grateful, that I have met this person and I have him by my side, Yeah.
I think that's definitely a beautiful thing. It's awesome to be able to have experienced, spending 24 years out of your life with somebody,
Yeah.
But then now you're going to spend the rest of your life, you know, with somebody else. But at the same time, too, you're honoring Bobby, you know, through
Yeah.
music with his
Of
children and all
course.
that. But at the same time, you are, your kids are able to also, how can I say it? They can also just feel that family unit again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
feel that
Yeah.
that guidance. Like, you know, there's nobody, how we said earlier, nobody could take the place of their father, and no one ever
No.
will. But those memories
Yeah.
are there. His music's there. He's all over there.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
he's still around, you know. But
Yeah.
you know, and I'm sure that Bobby sees how good this man is to his kids, and I'm sure in heaven
Yeah.
he's probably just as grateful, right? You know, like, hey, you know, to find a
Yeah.
man that will love your kids and take care of your kids and respect your kids. That's an amazing thing, because it's always hard.
Yeah.
I think it's always hard to find somebody that really cares about, you know, about, you know, kid, you know what I mean? Like, you like that person
Yeah.
that's like, oh, do I really want the bag? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard, you know, to find
Yeah.
somebody that really, really, really genuinely loves you and everything
Yeah.
that comes with you. I think you're very fortunate to have been able to find somebody that loves you, loves your kids, and not only that, but helps you, and
Yeah.
you know, continuing on, you know, to encourage you to pursue everything that you love to do, and honoring,
Yeah.
you know, the father of your children, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you do it because, you know, not only that, but the love that you once shared with this man, but also now for your kids, right? This is their father, so you're
Exactly.
honoring their father's legacy.
Yeah.
You do it for them, right? You do it for the kids,
Yeah.
because this is
I
their
do it
father.
for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
because, you know, and that's why, you know, you know, Bobby's, he's always gonna, you know, how can I say, his memory is always gonna live, you know, it's always gonna live, and I'm gonna do that in honor for him and for his children, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With all due respect, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just, you know, I'm just living life now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. You know, I just want to enjoy life, what I have left, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Because life is too short, mija. Life
Yeah.
is too short. And, you know, at the end, all I had was, you know, left was my children, you know, and unfortunately, you know, family wasn't, you know, quite there, you know, wasn't there. And I mean, they're here, but they're not there. You know what I mean? That makes sense.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that's, you know, that's sad, you know, because at one point, you know, family, like, you know, oh yeah, family, you know, sticks it out together. And it's always, you know, one family member that had the whole family together, you know, and fortunately that one family member passes away, and it's like everybody just spreads out. Nobody, you know what I mean? Everybody does their own shit. And, you know, I felt like, damn, like, who can I run to? Where do I go? How do I, you know what I mean? So what I did was, you know, I got my children, and my children were the ones that put that life right back into me to bounce right back up, you know, and encouraging me, and, you know, with their love, plain and simple, their love. And that's an unconditional thing. It's a beautiful thing, you know, when you're a parent and your children give you that unconditional love. And that right there, like, it just made me even strive more. Like, okay, I'm going to take care of this first, and then I'm going to finish that and go to that. You know, my kids would always like, come on, Mom, you got this. You know, you got it. You could do it. Come on. You know, you don't have Dad around no more, but you have us. And that right there motivated me to keep living.
Yeah.
And that's something like priceless, you know?
Yeah, I think that it's a beautiful thing when, you know, sometimes I tell people, you know, there's some people that are fortunate to, you know, when tragedy happens, to have people around you to help you go through that.
Yeah.
And there's times where you don't, right? And a lot of times when you don't, you know, once you're out of that, you question that, right? Like, did I really go through that alone? You know, because when you're going through that time of loss, not knowing, you do need people in your life to encourage you, to either it's to encourage you or just to even take you out for a minute out of, you know, just the constant pain, or just to distract you for a minute, right? But when you're going through that process alone, I feel, you know, for myself, I could only speak for myself. Now that I'm out of it, because I went through a very bad, you know, time of isolation, and I still deal with that now. I think now I feel kind of like I'm a little bit guarded, a little bit more like, you know, just kind of quiet. It's been taking me a lot of time to break out of that. But I feel like now that I look back and I say, you know what, God intended it to be that way, for me to go through that alone for whatever reason, and I feel it's to make you stronger. You know what I mean? To allow you to process all the questions, all the grief, all the turmoil, but why, but this, but that. You know, sometimes
it's always a why.
Yeah, exactly. Or I should have, or I could have, you know. And you have, and sometimes like when we have people in our life, it's outside noise, right? That doesn't allow us to be able to process those feelings and, you know, those raw feelings, because they're influenced by, you know, other people outside that haven't experienced that, right? And they don't really understand. It's kind of like, it's going to be okay. But we know it's not really going to be okay, you know? And I just feel like, for whatever reason, God allows us to go through those things alone. And I feel like when we come out of that, we're just a little bit more stronger, and we can empathize, or have, you know, empathy. What is that word? Empathize with others that have gone through that, and really understand, you know?
Yeah. I think nobody's not gonna, for the ones that hasn't gone through it, they're not gonna understand it, like how we have. You know what I mean? You have to go through something like that to get it. Because, you know, like when my mom passed, and, you know, people thought, things will get better in time, or sorry for your loss, or, you know, or like, I don't understand what you're going through. And I'm like, you know, and it's like, they're not going to get it, you know, until you experience it, if that makes sense.
And I think sometimes you don't even need them to say anything. Like, sometimes I feel like you just don't need, like, nobody saying, just sit there. I don't care. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
you
just
know?
talk
just don't say nothing.
Just hear me out.
Yeah, exactly, you know? But I feel like, you know, God chose, you know, for anybody. And if you're going through it alone, if you're going, not only with grief, right? But sometimes we go through certain situations in our life where we feel like, now we're carrying this heavy load on our own. There's a reason behind that. You know, don't question it, because if you were meant to go through that process with others around you, it would have been like that. But for whatever reason, you're in this process alone, and it's okay, you know, because there's learning opportunities through that, right?
Exactly.
There's growth. So, anybody that's listening, it's okay to go through certain things alone. It's actually
No, it is true, mija, because, you know, it's just like, you know, I also, you know, battle depression, anxiety, you know, I do. Like, I'm not no shame to talk about it or anything, because it needs to be, out there. Yeah, because we all go through shit in life, you know? There's just so much stuff going on every day, you know what I mean? And people will be like, oh, yeah, everything's good, but deep down inside know are you really, really good though, you know, because some people don't want to talk about it, you know, they're too scared or too embarrassed or, you know, whatever, but no, you have to, it has to come out. You can't keep it bottled in because, you know,
Because then you
keep
bleed
bottling.
everywhere. You know why? 'Cause
Yeah,
you bleed
when
everywhere.
yeah, it's like you're like a ticking time bomb.
Yep.
And out of nowhere, you know, you fucking explode. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, where did this shit come from? But, you know,
Yeah.
you gotta get to you know, you gotta go to the root of it and start, you know, cause that's what happens. If you don't take care of it, it just builds up and builds up one layer after another layer. And that's not healthy. It's not good, you know, cause you want to move on with your life. You can't, you know what I mean? It's not good to have everything all bottled up and that's not life, you know? That's not a way to live.
Yeah. So your kids, do your kids like oldies?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, that's all they had, you know, to hear,
Yeah.
you know, 'cause at the time, you know, when their dad and that's all they heard, you know, in the house, in the car rides, that was music, you know, and we would go, you know, with friends and barbecue and, you know, kickbacks and stuff like that. That's all they heard, so they had no choice.
Yeah,
you know, but
that's
yeah,
awesome.
my youngest son, you know, his dad got him his first little record player, a little portable record player. I think I want to say he was maybe 3.
Wow.
And his dad
already had plans.
Yeah, and his dad was like, come here, you know, 'cause he would always be like, record player, Dad, record player, I want to play records, let me see your records. And he was like, oh no, you know, not these, and these are big money, I'll give you some other little, you know, cheapies, you know. But yeah, and he, you know, he would ask him like, what do you want, you know, for your birthday? I want a record player. So he's like, you serious? And yeah, he bought him his little record player with little Fisher Price little record player, and he gave him a, you know, little case box and gave him his own little records, and he would play his little records, you know, and now he's, you know, a young man, you know, he still plays records at home, you know, and I would say he's the one that's like taking the step like after his dad. And my older daughter, she likes the music too. I just had I was asked to do a spin-off at a car show, and I took her with me, and shout out to Sisters of Soul. And she was like, hey, your daughter spins? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, she's going to learn today. so my daughter looks at me, and she's like, Mom. And I'm like, girl, get on that needles, you know, put that record down and just spin it. She's like, Mom, I don't know. I'm like, come on, I'll be right here. We'll be here, you know, to guide you.
Yeah.
And then after that, she's like, Mom, she's like, I think this is what I want to do. She's like, you know what? I felt my dad's spirit. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, no wonder you guys love this. And I go, it's a beautiful thing, Mariah. I go, it's like, you know, I don't know, music speaks to me. You know, it's always been, you know, my passion, my therapy, you know, all into one, you know, and it just, you know, it's just a beautiful thing to see, you know, your children, you know, like what you like, you know, or they see that and it's like, wow, like that is nice, you know, and, you know, and the kids know, you know, 'cause no lie, you know, my living room and my garage looks like a record shop. You know, we have so much.
How do the kids feel about that? Like, just seeing their house full of records, their mama, their daddy wears vinyl spinners. What's their opinion on that?
Oh, well, they know number one rule was not to touch the records. You know, or the record players, you know, they knew that. But they're just, they're like, you have too many, Mom. Like, this is a lot,
Yeah.
And, it just, they're just, like I mentioned, to you earlier, Bobby was, a record dealer, he would sell records, and, so that was another thing, we have so much records, and mind you, just us being collectors, so it's quite of a big, collection, of records, and when it's my time, I told the kids, I hand it to you guys, this will be all for you, and that's gonna be one nice collection,
Yeah, what an inheritance, right? Like, and then, I mean, I think it's a beautiful inheritance to leave. I mean, you're leaving a part of history with the kids, right?
Yeah.
If something were to ever happen, I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing, to be able to pass down things like that to our kids. My son's not too much into oldies, so I don't know. I mean, right now he's barely 13. I don't know if, when he grows up that'll change, but he already knows. But I know you go and do events and things like that. I mean, do you remember like the first time you got invited to go spin? How that was?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, I would always get invited to events, but I was always, with the kids, so it was kind of hard to just pick up and get a babysitter, but I want to say maybe, gosh, let me see, I want to say maybe in 2000 and, oh gosh, maybe 2010 or 11 maybe.
Oh, wow.
I got asked to go to a bar, and I was nervous because I seen all the people, and I was like, oh my God, like, what if I fuck up? And then Bobby was like, don't worry about it, I probably fucked up already, so they're not gonna know. So I was like, all right, and everybody was like, yeah, come on, Marie, get up there, spin. And that right there, I was like, damn, like it was just like an instant rush. I wasn't Marie no more. I was Miss Lady of Soul. It was like, it just hit me, right there. And I was just like, okay, now I gotta, like, now I have time, to do this, and I want to get out there and spin more, but I gotta make sure I gotta get a babysitter, to be able to do this. And I didn't, I got to do it when I, had the chance to. And then, as years gone by, I would, do some here and there, but mainly, also, me and Bobby, we would do, spinning events for car clubs, so a lot of car shows, things like that we would do. So that was, our thing, where we would do private, parties, funerals. I mean, we did it all, girl. Just, spinning,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was our thing. And, like I said, that was my first time, like, I, got to get out there and spin. And I just,
so I got to actually see you live in action.
Yes, you did. Oh my God, girl, it was so nice to meet you and, like, meet your,
It's like we had an instant connection, how, like, we didn't even meet, and then it's just like, boom, like, we just, like, I felt like if time would have permitted, we would have stayed there talking.
I know, and you know what, and I'm so sorry. I wanted to go more back over there to speak with you, but everybody was like, what's this button? Because it was my turntables that they were using that day. Yeah. So I was like, man, I couldn't like really, I'm like, oh, I should have did this. I should have got to do that. I'm like, I didn't, because
too.
everybody's like, Marie, what's this? Or how do you turn on the microphone? Or how do you, all these little things they were asking. I was like, oh my God, I can't go nowhere then. I
Yeah,
gotta
you
stay
know
right
what?
here.
Actually, at that event, I feel the same way. I feel like there's so many things that I wanted to do that I didn't get a chance because I got sick. I was sick at the event.
Right, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, I was so sick. I got sick, I think, from nerve. I don't know what happened. I was like throwing up. It was just like bad. It was like I was back and forth to the restroom. My husband even had to go get medicine because my stomach was so upset. And then I was so subconscious. I was like, I probably smell like throw up. Like, it was just
no.
yeah. So it was like, it was just a lot. But I mean, it was an amazing event. I feel like I wanted to be out there so much more, but I don't know, I got sick. So it's like, I can't wait till I think my cousin, they're having another event in, December. So I'm super excited about that. I think she's having a posada. And I'm so proud of her. Like, she just did such an amazing job, organizing the whole thing, and then also the cause, right? It was a beautiful cause to get behind, and they did their thing. So super proud of her and Husky for putting on an event. And I know they're, like I mentioned, they have some events coming up, so I'm excited to be a part of those events.
That's awesome. That's I send you guys nothing but blessings, and this, to prosper even more, than itself big, just keep it going,
Yeah, for sure. Well, my last question to you is, do you have any advice for any upcoming vinyl collectors or anybody who wants to start collecting vinyls?
Yes, I do. Yes.
You're like, I have a lot. Take notes.
Right?
Start taking notes.
No, mija, you know what? It's because, a lot of, I like I said, I took on, Bobby's thing, selling the records. So now I do that. You know what I mean? And, a lot of people that you've already interviewed, I've sold to, into, to these ladies and gentlemen, and it's a beautiful, rewarding thing to see. When I see them, putting that record down on that turntable and slapping that needle down, it's like, damn, like that's nice, and I see them vibing, dancing and bobbing their heads and, feeling the music. That's the most beautiful, rewarding thing is to see, because that's when you see them loving the music, and that's my thing I love to see, And as for the newcomers, there's something that, doesn't sit right with me. And collecting has changed over the years a lot, and there wasn't a lot of collectors as of today. I've seen a lot, and, what gets to me is that, when when you're asked to spend and there's someone that, like myself, I've been in this for a very, very long time, right? And somebody that's just barely starting off, and they get intimidated. Like, oh no, like, she's gonna spend, I don't want to spend with her because her collection is bigger than mine. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna address this person, and I'm gonna go up and, what's up, and to me, I think it's like they go off by somebody else's word or what they said and not having a chance to meet who I am, and to me, I feel like, no, get to know me. If you, come to me. Yeah. Don't go off by somebody else's other words, and some people, they will say that, like, oh, I don't want to spend because she's a big collector. I don't want to spend with her. And it's like, wait a minute, no. Like, like, we're in the same thing. You know, you have the love for the music just as much as I do. I'm not no better than you. You're not no better than me. We're in this together. If anything, I'm here to share my knowledge out of all these years that I've been collecting, you know, and I love to share. You know, if you don't understand, or, you know, about a record or a condition or the labels or whatever, I'm not saying that I know everything, but if I can help you, cool. If I don't know it myself, then I'll find out to help you, because I'm all about sharing, you know, sharing, teaching, love, because that's the way, you know, I was taught, and that's what I learned from the best, you know, and you know, and I try to tell you, because it doesn't matter if you got somebody's playing $1,000 record and you're paying $1 record. So what? Play that shit. Spin it. Who cares? That's what you can afford. That's what you like. Spin that shit. Who cares what that other person said? So what? Hey, you can get, you know, you could get a lot of records out of that $1,000. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. So don't ever. Huh?
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
It don't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, if you got a $50 box of records compared to somebody has in the thousands or whatever. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, or another thing that it comes up too. Oh, why I can't buy a reissue record? Why? So what? Everything, you know what I mean? To me, I feel like if it's a reissue record and you're getting it at a cheaper price, hey, by all means, spin that shit. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. You know, you play what's from the heart and what you love. Don't go out by somebody else or try to be like them or try to compete, because that shit, that ain't real. That ain't being 100. You know what I mean? You gotta have the love for your music. Are you going for clout, for friends, for, you know what I mean? Like, no, you're there because you have passion for your music, and whatever fits in your budget fits in your budget, you know. And I get the response back like, wow, like, I didn't think that was gonna come out of your mouth, Marie. And I'm like, what you thought I was gonna say? You know?
I hope that people that are listening to this, I understand, right? Like, I understand that, you know, I think it's like everything, right? Like, we all have certain values in our life that we try to live by. Yeah. Not everyone agrees with our own values that we have, right? So you may not agree with my values. I may not agree with every single one of your values. Nonetheless, we come together. So I say that because maybe for somebody listening, that is important to them, right? I don't buy reissues. I don't buy that. But that's you. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, that somebody's like that. It's just maybe the integrity of their collection. But do I feel it's right for somebody to make somebody else feel bad for maybe not, because, right, like, we all can't afford, you know, what everybody can afford, right? And some people could only afford the reissue. Some people could only afford, you know, the $1, $5 record. But collectively together as a unit, because we love the music, regardless if it's $1, $5, or $1,000 or $10,000. Yeah. There's something for everyone, and it's for the love of music, and that's what we're doing it for the love. And if somebody is intimidated because somebody is a bigger collector than one, I hope they don't see it like that. Rather, they see it like it's an honor, because it would be an honor for me to share the table with somebody that has gone before me and has invested their time and their finances in collecting these records, and for me to play on the same tables and say, you know what, look here's my little humble collection. Like, do you know if I should get any more? Should I get any more? Or what do you see? Look at my collection, girl. What should I get? What should I, and it's because, and I think that's where you really see where that person is out. Are they really doing it because they love music, or are they doing it with other intentions? Which, I hope that everyone that's in the vinyl soul collecting scene is doing it with pure motive, pure intentions, because at the end of the day, there's something for everyone. And we all feel the same thing. We're all going to move the same. We, as a listener, are not going to know if it's a reissue or not. We're just going to move,
Right. Yeah, that's why I just, that's why I just tell them, just don't pay attention to that, don't worry about who has more or who has this or who has that. It's don't focus on that. You know, you like the music, you like the scenery, you like the, go with it. You collect what you like. You play what you like because it's for you. It's for your how would I say?
And you're not always gonna have. So, for example, for myself, being transparent, like you're not gonna find $1,000 record in my collection yet. Not yet. I'm not at that level yet. But do I strive? Are there records that I want to purchase? Of course, there is. But we all have different seasons in our life. And right now, I'm just not at a season where I could go and, I just purchased a house. So, you know what I mean? It's either, invest in my house that I just bought or go buy $1,000 record. It's just, I'm not in that season yet. But I will be there in that season where I can go be like, I want that $1,000. I want that $10,000. Like nothing, right? But right now, I'm at a season where I just can't go and easily go pick that up. It's something that I have to save for. Therefore, I'm saying that because maybe right now your collection may not be as big as you want it to be or as heavy as you want it to be, but it's just a season. It doesn't mean it has to stay there. Right now in the season, you may not be able to go and afford to buy that, but don't let that stop you from striving, right, to grow your collection because you still have a lot of time, right? There's no hurry. The scene ain't going anywhere. It's going to be here for a lifetime. So, whether it's now or tomorrow,
That's exactly the way I feel. There's so much music out there, and, the way I tell, these, people, that I sell to, and I tell them, there's just so much music out there.
Yeah.
We'll never know. We'll never know. Even for me, every day I'm learning something new. Every day. Every day I'm finding something new about a song or some stuff I even have, and it's like, oh shit, I didn't even know about that.
Right.
But, but it's just, that's just part of collecting. And that's why I tell, I tell them like, hey, like, understand what you're collecting, learn about it, because you might see something that you missed, because a lot of these artists went by alias names, different labels, different groups. They, you know what I mean? They changed the group naming, just a lot of things that you'll be surprised, just understand what you're collecting, because at the end, yes, it is an investment. Sure. You know what I mean? It is. And sometimes I catch myself like, damn, I really want that, that big money record. But, at times I think like, no, I gotta take care of my priorities first. Hopefully one day I'll get that record.
Yeah, one day I will. That season one day.
Yeah, but you know what? The trip though, man, records have changed in value so much.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so much.
They're so expensive now.
Yeah. And it's because, it all goes by, the demand,
Yeah.
of the record. Like I mentioned to you earlier, there wasn't this many collectors. There
Yeah.
wasn't. The soul scene the vinyl scene, I want to say, has taken off like crazy.
Yeah.
Because there was only a few of us collecting at the time,
Yeah.
and CD comps coming out,
Yeah.
things like that. But now it's mind blowing. It's like, damn, like there is a lot of collectors, and that I like that because, you get to hear other people's
Style.
collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all different, like I said, all different genres.
Yeah.
There's so many different things, So that's a nice thing to see, and like
Yeah.
even going to the events, I love it. To me, when I'm up on that turntable and it's, my time to drop my set, it's like Marie's not there. It's Miss Lady of Soul. And I just right there, I'm in a zone. Cause that's like where I'm just, that's like my time, to escape and just
Yeah.
get lost into my music. And
Yeah.
that's my therapy,
Yeah.
That really is my time,
That's so awesome. I'm so happy that I have been able to spend some time with you. I know we said
Yeah.
we're gonna set this up and be able to talk. Your story has truly been impactful, and I know that many people that are listening to this interview are gonna get a lot of knowledge of who you are. So maybe when you're out there spinning, they'll know your story, know who you are, and be able to connect with you a little bit better, of course,
Yeah.
And not only that, but everybody that's tuning in, I think you're very relatable. Like, you've gone through so much, and you're resilient to be able to come out and be strong and, be a vinyl spinner and a collector and continuing on your husband's legacy. And I am super honored to have had you on our podcast. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or mention before we end?
Yeah, I just want to just say thank you. It's an honor for you having me on here and just to, share my stories, about me. I really appreciate it. And, I send you nothing but love and blessings, to your podcast, and may this prosper, for you and yours.
I receive that. I receive that. Thank you.
I do. I wish you nothing but, nothing but the best. And this is a beautiful thing, that you are doing, because like you said, some people don't know, about us collectors on, what we go through, or, or where's our mind at, what we, it's just, they just is spinning,
Yeah.
but that's a good thing, that you touch base on how this all started,
Sure.
because that many people, don't know. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think for me it's just important to share. I know, because one of the things that I didn't get into collecting vinyl until already, I think I had just gotten married. I had collected vinyl, like I had bought vinyl. I can't say I was so much of a collector, right? I would just buy vinyl here and there. Until I got married, that's when I actually started being more selective on what I was buying. But what intimidated me was the price, and just like how you said, not only the price, but not only that, but it's just the insignificant, I know what you say, where you're like, I have a little collection, but at the same time, it's like, there's no way I could pull up to an event and spend, like, compared to somebody like you that has thousands in a living room in a room, you know?
No, don't ever think like that.
Yeah, well, that's how I would think. I would just, like, that was the intimidating part of it, but that's why I wanted to do this, because for the crystals, for the younger crystal that was intimidated and was like, no, like, I can't afford it, or I can't, you know? And, you know, for that to say, you know what, we all have a story. We all have struggles. We've all been there. We know what it feels like, but do it, because it's an investment and an inheritance that you're gonna carry with you, you know? And, that's why, you know, I wanted to do this podcast. And of course, to honor my father, you know, because he loved music and he loved talking to people. So that's why. But, so
that's nice. That's really good that you're doing that, you know, and I'm sure that he's very proud of you, you know, to keep on his, you know, his legacy and his honor, you know, because that's, you know, you're, in a words that he's living, you know, through you.
Yeah.
And you're doing that. You're doing that, you know? So that's really nice, you know, that you faced it. You know what I mean? You're doing it. That's the main thing. No matter, you know, you might be scared or nervous or whatever, the main thing is you gotta get up and do it.
Do it. Yep.
You know what I mean? Because we can all say, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. No, but the main thing is, are you doing it though? You know?
Yeah.
You'll never know until you try it. Yeah, you might be. You know what? I get this. I'm going to tell you this straight out. People always ask me, Marie, do you get nervous to get up there and spin?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, why? I don't know. It's just something, it's just like, it hits, you know, and once I'm like, maybe by the, I don't know, third record, I'm gone. You know,
you're like, I'm good.
Yeah, you know, and after that, it's like, and then when it's time for me to get off, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to. I want to keep going. You know, that's the thing. I love sharing with others. You know what captures my heart. You know, is my music, and I love to share. I love to talk. I love to spread knowledge, whatever that it is. I love to talk about music. Like that's the beautifulest thing, you know. And I always get that too. Like, hey Marie, I only know about this little bit of words of the song. Do you know it? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, it's this, you know. And they're like, damn. Like man, I don't know what song. I can't tell you because you seem to know everything. And I'm like, no, it's just like you know, over the years, like, you know, I was like a sponge. Like I said, you know, when Bobby would have all these collectors coming to the houses, and, you know, I was busy with the kids making a bottle or changing them or whatever, but I would always pay attention to what they were talking about and what not, you know?
Yeah.
I would always listen to what they were saying. And when it got to my time, like fast forward, when we started seeing record shops popping up, I was like, that was my chance to show him out of all the years what I learned, you know. And I was like, hey, look what I found. He was like, what do you know about that? And I'm like, oh, I knew, you know. And I would tell him like, oh, it's on this label, or it's on this color label, or, you know, or whatever. Like, I would talk to him. He's like, damn, like, where are you learning this from? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but like, I would pay attention to you guys. Like, I would listen to you guys talk about artists and, you know, you guys playing records and stuff like that. So I was like a sponge, you know, when it was my time to, you know, to share my knowledge, what I've learned out of all the years. It was like, I took off, like, down. I just started like, oh, I want to get this, I want to get that, you know, and I was just like hooked, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's very addicting.
Yes.
Once you get started, it's very hard to stop. It becomes an
Yes.
addiction.
Yes, I
It's
always say that to my kids. Oh, mom's gonna get this record, and they're like, "Mom, you've been saying you're gonna get all these records, and oh, you're
yeah,
not gonna get them, and you get them." And I'm like, "Oh, I know, I'm like, it's a bad habit, but
yeah,
it just, I always. But what if I don't? What if I don't see that record no more? And then
yeah,
you know, so
yeah,
it's a battle.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, thank you so much for being with me tonight, and
Thank
I
you.
am truly honored. And I know that if anybody wants to find you, do you have anything coming up? Any events that you're going to be spinning at? If anybody wants to
Yes.
catch you live, where can they
Yes.
go see
Well,
you?
I have, I have coming up. I'm gonna be spinning at the Pico Rivera. I think it's the VFW. Yeah, I think it's the VFW on Pico Rivera on August 31st.
Okay.
It's gonna be with Way Back Wednesday and the Ponderosa family. They have, events going on there. So they're putting up together all ladies lineup.
Nice.
So it's gonna be it's gonna be a nice one. This is my second event with all ladies lineup. So I'm very excited to be able to share the turntables with these awesome, ladies that are collectors, So
Yeah.
just to be there and present and see these women, just play their 45s, their collections. So it's gonna be a nice one.
That's August 31st?
Yes, August 31st. I have the flyer up on my page on Instagram and also on TikTok. Just look up Miss Lady of Soul, and you'll see the posters there. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And if they want to get a hold of you, they could get a hold of you on IG and on TikTok.
Yeah, on
correct?
IG.
Miss Lady of Soul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They can look up on IG. If they have any questions about events or or just want to know about records. I'm all here to to spread the word or to acknowledge. I'm here. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and also thank you for opening yourself and your knowledge and everything that you've learned throughout the years to be able to educate upcoming vinyl collectors.
Yes.
That's always appreciated. And again, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. And today's episode is going to be dedicated to your husband, Bobby, since it is his 3-year anniversary. So this weekend we do honor him. And, all vinyl collectors that unfortunately have gone on, and we honor them on such a day like this. And
thank you.
Yeah, and well, thank you so much again, and that does conclude episode number 16 here on the Barrio Love OD podcast.
Hey, it's 16 now.
I know how today. Yeah, it is 16, girl.
Yeah. I didn't get a 15, but I got a sweet 16 now.
You said I was your first interview, right? So, hey.
Yes, you found my cherry nose.
All right.
No,
well,
thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, that does conclude episode number 16 here on the Barrio Love OD podcast, and we'll catch you on the flip side.